Hello, welcome to the Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. Today we have a special new feature, and it is SAI, which stands for Spiritual Awakenings International, which is SAI. And we are going to have today an SAI speaker spotlight, because every month Spiritual Awakenings International, which you can go to their website, spiritualawakeningsinternational.org, and subscribe, sign up for free, and you'll be able to see these monthly speakers online that are experts in near-death experience, Kundalini, spiritual transformative experiences, which the person who coined that phrase in 1994, Dr. Yvonne Kason, is here with us tonight, the president and one of the co-founders. I'm going to bring her on, but I do want to say we're very proud that the Seeking Heaven channel is an affiliate network of SAI, and so excited about what they're doing. And I'm so supportive of their mission and how they are, they're for anyone that's a truth seeker, just like this channel, but they're also near-death experiencers that support near-death experience. So it is a safe haven there, and they just have a beautiful philosophy and amazing experts, and you should check out who's going to be speaking, as well as their honorary circle members that they have. So I'm going to bring on the pioneer, the person who coined the term spiritual transformative experiences, STEs. I mean, this is so exciting. So here is the co-founder and founder of SAI, Dr. Yvonne Kason. Thank you for being here today on the SAI First Speaker Spotlight.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for doing these spotlights for our upcoming speakers for Spiritual Awakenings International.
Oh, are you kidding? I'm so excited because, this is not just a business, but this is such a passion of mine it's something that I continue to search and to learn and to grow. So I'm personally very excited about the people that you're going to be having on. And I've already seen a couple of your speakers that are very fascinating. So I wanted to go ahead and mention a couple things about you. I thought that you could go ahead and tell everybody very quickly a little bit about SAI, some of the programs that are coming up, and also next month. And then we will go ahead and we will introduce our speaker spotlight today, which is Dr. Jeffery Long.
Yeah. Well, first off, let me just welcome everybody and introduce everyone to Spiritual Awakenings International. So this is a new international network. We just launched back in June of 2020, and we are taking off like wildfire. We are just amazed. We have close to 1,000 subscribers already from 44 countries around the world, every continent except Africa. It's awesome. And so what that's really showing us is that there is an interest all over the world in spiritual awakening and spiritually transformative experiences that are happening to people today. And I founded Spiritual Awakenings International with my co-founder, Dr. Robert Bear. Dr. Robert Bear, he's actually doctor, but he doesn't usually put the doctor in front of his name.
Okay. He's humble, I can see that.
But that we're both multiple NDE and multiple STE experiencers ourselves. And we've been involved with other organizations in the past, and we both felt called by spirit to start a new organization, one that had a much broader mandate, that was looking at all the different types of spiritually transformative experiences that people are having today, not just one type. So we are raising awareness and encouraging networking and having speakers talking about all of these types of experiences, whether it be, as you mentioned, near-death experiences, but that's just one. Then, various types of mystical experiences, various types of psychic phenomenons, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, mediumship experiences, channeling, past life recall, transdimensional experiences like UFO encounters. Then we have the Kundalini awakening, inspired creativity, and the downloads that people are getting. So we're having speakers that are exploring the whole spectrum of spiritually transformative experiences. And I, in fact, am the person who first coined that phrase, spiritually transformative experiences, back in 1994. And I've been written about it in my book, A Farther Shore, back then, and in some of my more recent books, Farther Shores, and my new one, Touched by the Light, that just came out last year. And I'm delighted that many groups and organizations are starting to use this term that I coined, because they're discovering that this is accurate, that there's more than one type of experience that's causing a spiritual awakening in people. So we're looking at the whole range of experiences that are causing spiritual awakenings. And the other thing that we're doing in Spiritual Awakenings International is we're trying to bring people together, whether that's people who were looking at just one type of experience, or people who were in different parts around the globe. You know, there's little groups in Liechtenstein and England and Spain and Australia and New Zealand, all across the United States, all across Canada, South America, Mexico, bringing these groups together so that we have a network and, as you said, a safe harbor. And our other focus is particularly for experiencers, because in some organizations, experiencers sometimes feel like they're treated like a rat under the microscope. You know, the researchers are looking at you like a rat under the microscope, and that's not a really comfortable feeling. And so with Robert and I, as the president and vice president of Spiritual Awakenings International, that we're both experiencers ourselves, and not just of near-death experiences, but also we're both multiple STE experiencers. That our philosophy is it is for experiencers by experiencers, so that we've created it. We're experiencers that are creating a safe harbor for experiencers and others who want to support experiencers from around the world. So that's a little bit about what Spiritual Awakenings International is all about. But as you mentioned, we have certain activities that we do. I mean, we do have affiliated groups and networks, like you're an affiliated network now, so we're really happy to have you as part of the family, and we invite other interested groups and networks to affiliate too if they'd like to. And then we send out a calendar of events of things that's being done by all of our affiliated groups, so you'll get people to find out about your activities and to attend them. But we have our own activities as well, and today we're doing a speaker spotlight for one of our activities, which is once a month we have really a top-notch speaker on some topic related to spiritually transformative experiences. And I'm really delighted that our next speaker, and that's going to be on Saturday, February the 20th, is Dr. Jeffery Long, who is the founder of NDERF, the NDE Research Foundation, which is the largest NDE website in the world. So we're just absolutely delighted that he's going to be speaking. So I'm just going to mention a couple more activities for people who've never heard of Spiritual Awakenings International before. Is we also want to honor people. We want to honor people who've been groundbreakers and pioneers in this field, because it's not been easy in the last 100 years to be a groundbreaker.
Well, you know that you're a groundbreaker, and you've had obstacles, because in the years ago, this was not a normal conversation. You would not have had the shows like Netflix new show, The Surviving Deaf. You would not have that conversation. This is something that you've been fighting for, this message for people that have had these mystical, supernatural, NDE, STE experiences for almost 40 years. So you've made it safe for actually many years, being the forefront and being also not only a researcher, but a family physician and an MD to be able to be the spokesperson.
Yeah, I am a medical doctor based in Toronto, Canada, and I was the first Canadian doctor in 1990 to specialize my medical practice into the counseling and research of patients who'd had diverse types of spiritually transformative experiences. And since that time, I've been a public advocate. I've been an advocate for experiencers, and I feel now that this is a continuation of this with Spiritual Awakenings International, that we're advocating for experiencers, that experiencers are not crazy, and these STEs are not a sign of mental illness. And believe it or not, it is still very necessary today, because there are still way too many people out there who are labeling and judging experiencers as crazy, or sometimes they even say it's work of the devil or hallucinating. And you know, the other thing is that Spiritual Awakenings International is seeking collaboration to work together. This is the model of the future. We've got to learn to work together rather than to compete. And there are still organizations out there who are competing with other organizations. So we think it's time, to rise above that model, and time for all of us to come together globally. And as that we're a family of individuals, the planet is going through a healing crisis right now, and that coming together, those of us who are having spiritual awakenings, will help to intensify the positive good, the light that we can shine all over the planet while we're dealing with so many changes, etc.
Well, absolutely. It's a place that people can receive stable spiritual information, and they can continue their own personal spiritual journey by the information that they receive. And there's so many authors that are part of SAI that they can look into exploring, reading different books, such as yours, Touched by the Light, which I highly recommend because it really does cover all the different spiritual awakening areas and things that, I thought I knew a lot. There was a couple things that I, was like, wow, okay, that I've done that too. And then there's actually a label and a word for it. So that you have been giving stability to the area of NDEs for STEs for some time. Now, what's really beautiful is not only with your expertise and so forth, and your network of influential, spiritual NDE, STE experts, Dr. Jeffery Long, his research, which is great, that there are others that are also part of this whole research phenomenon, that he has researched over 4,000 near-death experiencers and has isn't it to date, the widest in the world, the most information on this topic?
That's right. His study, he's investigated, as you mentioned, over 4,000 near-death experiences. And he says that this is by far the largest number of NDEs ever scientifically studied by one particular researcher. And that's through his organization called the NDE Research Foundation, Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. And he founded that back in 1998. I also want to mention that he's founded a couple of other organizations because when he was researching near-death experiences, he discovered that, gee, people are having other types of experiences that need to be studied as well. So then he afterwards founded ADCRF, which is the After Death Communications Research Foundation, that a lot of people are now getting affiliated with that network and that project. And then he founded a third research foundation, OBERF. That is the Out of Body Experience Research Foundation. And that is for anybody who had other sorts of STEs that didn't fit into near-death experiences and after-death communications. So, he's been expanding his area of research because he too has discovered, as I discovered early on, near-death experience is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a broad range of experiences that people are having. And as you know, and people who watch your show will find out, and we talk about it in Spiritual Awakenings International, is that once you've had your awakening experience, so if you're awakening, your first awakening experience, maybe it's a near-death experience, or maybe your awakening experience is a Kundalini awakening, or maybe your awakening experience is a psychic awakening, that what tends to happen is it's not the only experience you have, that you start having more experiences, and you will often have more experiences of the same type that you had initially, but then you also start having other types of STEs. Like, it's really normal that someone who maybe had a near-death experience finds afterwards they're clairvoyant, they're clairaudient, they start having mediumistic abilities, they might start having healing abilities, they might even have a Kundalini awakening. And so this is normal. This is something, if people go look at our Spiritual Awakenings International website, you'll see that we talk about this as normal, that after the awakening experience, people often will become multiple STE experiencers.
Well, I tell you what, I just want you to keep saying that word normal, because I have never felt normal. And when looking through the different experiences, and I think that when we did our first interview on the Seeking Heaven channel, that you were going through some of the types of spiritual experiences people could have. And I think you made a comment to me, said, "Oh, Tamara, you must have them all the time." And I went, I do. How did you know that? I mean, it's constantly, some of them are pretty big, you know, like the stories are crazy. I could tell you crazy, like defy science stories. And it's so nice to feel that I'm now normal with my own people. So that's great.
that this is the new normal. What used to be considered paranormal to consensus society is the new normal for people who are multiple STE experiencers, that it just becomes a part of your everyday life that you have STEs.
Well, I wanted to also mention to you, there's some people, you know, with the thinking that, and I've heard it, that if you've had multiple near-death experiences, that they're just like other people. And I personally have found, I haven't done the research that you have or Dr. Long, but with my findings and talking with people, I find that that's not true, that there are certain, I find that they usually have more commonly consistent spiritual experiences and downloads and information downloads, say downloads from heaven, but downloads, as well as, you know, it could be spiritual abilities of knowing, psychic, whatever those, the form they come in of hearing, knowing, feeling, whatever that is. But I find they have more of them, and they just have a clear picture, because I think they've had, in my opinion, you're kind of getting, and you know, and I think I've told you, Dr. Kason, that people have made a joke of my 6 near-death experiences. They've made I've quite a lot, like even professionals, and I'm like, I don't think it's funny. But to me, they say, well, why did you do that? Why so many? Are you a problem? You have to keep going back? And I'm like, and my answer truly was, I like it there. But I feel also I get a download when I come back. I get like checked in for service, and I'm like, I gotcha. But I personally just think I like it there. I sounds kind of sick, but it, you know, do I plan that? I don't know, on some maybe spiritual level, but to me, I feel that people have been there more, have a, they come back with a little bit more heightened awareness. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I have to say there has not been any good research done on multiple NDE experiencers. I've spoken to quite a few. I've told people, because I'm a multiple NDE experiencer. I don't know if we mentioned it, that I've had 5 near-death experiences, 2 as a child and 3 in my adult life. And the ones in my adult life, the first one in 1979 was the one that eventually led to me specializing my medical practice in counseling people who'd had NDEs and other spiritually transformative experiences. But I'd had a Kundalini awakening 2 years before that. And then I started having all sorts of psychic phenomenon afterwards and mystical experiences, so the whole bunch. So your question was, are people who've had multiple NDEs different from people who've had one? And I would say my impression, although I don't have any hard, big, you know, research study to say it, to prove it, but just from what I've observed, is yes, that there is a difference. The more NDEs a person's had, the more STEs a person had, it changes you more. Of course it changes you more. It's like, you know, the way I look at it is this. It's sort of like you've been given a peek from a glimpse from the mountain peak when everyone else is living in the valley. And when you have your peak experience, you know, whether it's a mystical experience or white light type of near-death experience, it's like you're all of a sudden, you're not down in the valley anymore, you're up at the mountain peak, and you're seeing what can be seen at that mountain peak. A lot of things that cannot be seen or understood when you're down in the valley, and then boop, after your experience is over, you're back down in the valley. Now you have the memory of it, and you're trying to integrate that memory of it, and then boop, you have another experience, and then you're up there again, and you're seeing more, and you're understanding more. And not only that, but the jump in your consciousness is now easier to take because you've done it twice, right? Then boop, you're down again, and then and then maybe you're meditating, and whoop, all of a sudden in your meditation you find yourself out on the mountain peak. So your understanding deepens, your perspective deepens, your ability to make that jump, if you like to call it, in consciousness increases. And the after effects, because that's not a perfect analogy, because What's really happening, I think, is it's happening within our brain and consciousness. And so our range of normal consciousness is expanding. And so I don't think it ever contracts as small as it was before the experience. So it expands when you're in the experience in the STE, and then it comes back, but not quite as small as it was before. Then it expands in your next experience and comes back, but not quite as small as it was before. And so, you know, and there are a lot of variables too that you know, it's a very complex subject, but the most transformative experiences by far are the white light type of near-death experience and mystical experiences. And a mystical experience can happen with a Kundalini awakening. Now, not all near-death experiences have that. There are some near-death experiences that are the complete experience is an out-of-body experience. So they do not go into the mystical realms. They only have the out-of-body experience. And that's not to diminish or minimize that for that person, it might be quite transformative. But it's not transformative in the same way as somebody who's made it into what I will call the astral heavens or the white light realm, which is much more transformative. Then there's the third type of NDEs, and I just have to mention this, Tamara. I know you're trying to say something.
Oh, but no, go ahead. This is good stuff.
That some people have what we call distressing NDEs, or sometimes people call them negative NDEs, but distressing is probably a better word. And it can be distressing for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons might be that they go to a lower astral realm for some reason. We now realize there are lots of levels in the astral planes, and the white light near-death experience is up in the high astral heavens. Just the plane out of body is like we're going horizontal. You're staying at about the plane where we are here on Earth. And lower astrals as we've gone down. Yeah, that's right. And you see, that will not be transformative in the same way. And it will not open people's consciousness in the same way. In fact,
well, I adore you. I'm so glad you're saying this, because so many people, even experts that I've talked to, don't see it that way. But because I've had so many and talked to, well, look at you, 40 years of research and talking to people, this is absolutely true. And you can see, not to diminish that, but you're right, there are levels of dimensions of existence, and the lower ones, I find they come back struggling through that, and they're working through whatever that is their journey. But there's a lot that they don't really leave the hospital room. You know,
and so I actually, when I talk about near-death experiences, and there's actually a video on the Spiritual Awakenings International website. I gave a presentation last month on everything you need to know about near-death experiences. For anybody that's interested, that's posted on our website, our Spiritual Awakenings International website, on the videos page. That's where you'll find it. And I talk about this, the 3 different categories of NDE that I will categorize them, because they're very different experiences. And I find the after effects on people are very, very different. And the ones that are definitely most transformative, most spiritually transformative, are when people go to the white light realm or astral heavens.
Which is why I liked it. You know, it's funny, because when we first had when I interviewed you the first time, and you started coming out with this information, I was like, how does she know this about me? Because it was such a relief, because yes, there are, I guess I'm right down the line of the textbook of certain things, but when you have been nothingness and blended into this higher loving source, I think it's more of a total memory of, this is who I really am. I am love. I am not this vessel. I am not this body. And there's an awareness you can't really ever leave behind. I will say, I was talking to an NDER the other day on the show, and you know, I made a comment that every now and then I feel a little sad. I get over it. I don't stay in it, you know, but I feel like, oh, you know, because there's no greater love. There's no greater love story than the one of the divine. So I do have flashes of that, but then I snap out of it. I go, okay, come on, you're on point. You got a purpose here. Come on, be on point. All right. I got a lot to be grateful for. But that love is, it's not a human love. It's a
Well,
supernatural love.
yeah, and that's part of you being human, because even though we have these divine experiences, we come back into our human bodies with our human psyches, and we think, oh gosh, why did I have to come back here? It's so much nicer on the other side. But we also come back with a knowing that there's a higher purpose to our coming here. And many near-death experiencers and people who've had mystical experiences come back with the knowing that we embody lifetime after lifetime in these physical bodies, so that our souls will go to school. That it's like a school here where we're learning our spiritual lessons and growing up and learning our moral lessons, and also it's not just about learning, but it's also about giving back. It's also about serving. That's actually part of how our soul matures spiritually, is by realizing that we're all connected. We're all like brothers and sisters of the same one source, and learning to think not just of yourself, but of wanting to serve others, of wanting to serve the divine, of wanting to be an instrument of the divine. And then that's what happens, I've noticed, after people have had their spiritual awakening. They go through a progression. So in my next book, I talk a little bit about purifying the heart, which is what I've noticed in my 40 years of research and counseling people who've had spiritually transformative experiences and spiritual awakenings of all kinds, that there are certain stages that people will go through after their awakening, in the years after their awakening, as they're growing and maturing spiritually and developing into a more complete spiritual being. Anyway, that will be in the future when my next book comes out. So anyway, I just want to say to people, I'm so delighted that Dr. Jeffery Long will be speaking at our next event, which will be on February the 20th. He is definitely a pioneer in the world, a groundbreaker in the field of near-death experience research, with his largest NDE study ever reported. He has been honored by the Spiritual Awakenings International. He is an honoree on the Circle of Honor, and this is how we recognize individuals that we feel were real groundbreakers and pioneers, and Dr. Jeffery Long was one of them. So we look forward to hearing him speak on February 20th. I invite everyone to go to our Spiritual Awakenings International website, which is www.spiritualawakeningsinternational.org, and you can sign up to be on our mailing list so that you'll get announcements about upcoming speakers. You'll get our calendar of events, and you can also register there. All our events are free, but you can register there for our online events. So I would invite everybody to join us February 20th for Dr. Jeffery Long.
Fantastic.
On NDE, Evidence of the Afterlife is his topic.
Well, it's going to be great. And usually these monthly speakers, they're pretty meaty. They're like no shorter than 90 minutes to 2 hours. They're a meaty. I mean, you get good value for this. This is not just some little hour, whatever. This is a meaty, really phenomenal. Each month you really get a chunk of NDEST wisdom. I mean, it really is good. So
and we have a question and answer period, which is awesome too. So you can always ask questions of our speakers too.
I love that part. So you can interact as well and feel a part of the group, which you are. So please go to, first of all, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends, like my videos, watch them, because they're, I work very, very hard getting terrific people. And so you can get to not only know experts in the field or near-death experiencers, tell them about their experience, a spiritual transformative experience, Kundalini, UFOs, time travel. We're going to have a lot of super cool stuff, shamanism, but we're going to also have the live chats. You can interact. So I want you to be a part of my community. So subscribe, tell others, subscribe to Spiritual Awakenings International.org. And that way, when you're on the newsletter, you can get the monthly events. You can also go to the event section, sign up and register for that. Now that Dr. Jeffery Long's will be February 20th on a Saturday, and it's at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So
that is correct.
Yeah, so make sure that put that in your calendar, and that you'll also be a part of, they're going to have in June an online conference, more to come. you know, that, but when you're on the newsletter, you'll get all those things and you'll know what's happening. So thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Kason. You're phenomenal in what you're doing and your research. I have a lot of respect for you and can't wait to see how this organization is going to grow.
Well, thank you for having me, Tamara.
Thank you.